Welcome to Say More from Boston Globe Opinion. I'm Anna Kusmer. Last week, I was joined by Alex Edelman, a comedian from the Boston area. Alex is best known for an award-winning 2024 Broadway show called Just for Us, which you can find on HBO. It's a long story, which starts with him engaging with an anti-Semitic troll online.
And then he writes back, and then I write back, and then he writes back, and then other people get involved, and then I go to bed, and I wake up the next morning, and my Twitter feed, it's just this avalanche of anti-Semitism.
He starts following these anti-Semites on social media, and it leads him down an internet rabbit hole. And one day, he sees a tweet.
And the tweet says, Hey! If you live in NYC, and you have questions about your whiteness, come to 441 27th Avenue, which is in Queens, tomorrow night at 9:15. And I saw the tweet, and I thought to myself, I live in NYC. And as an Ashkenazi Jew, I have some questions about my whiteness. And I'm free tomorrow night at 9:15.
Alex actually goes to this meeting of white nationalists. And I won't give away the ending, but let's just say he leaves with some insights.
Nothing says white privilege more than a Jew walking into a meeting of racists and thinking, this will probably be fine.
It also has to be said, Alex is in his late 30s, and he has some really good jokes about being a millennial I particularly love.
By the way, just so you know, cocaine has no effect on me. None. Zero. Because I'm part of this generation of over-medicated ADHD children. Do you know what I mean? Like, someone offered me cocaine a couple of years ago, and I tried it, and they were like, how do you feel? And I was like there's homework to do!
Alex is on tour now, performing a new show called What Are You Going to Do? To me, Alex is canonically Jewish. Not all his jokes are about Jewishness, but I see him as part of a long tradition of comics changing the way Jewish culture is represented in the mainstream. When I told Alex my thoughts and that I wanted to talk about that, he surprised me with some complicated feelings about the perception of Jewish comedy. Before I turned on the recorders, he challenged the whole premise of the interview. Did I have to preface my interest in Alex on his Jewishness? Is he a Jewish comic or just a comic who happens to be Jewish? It's the type of challenge I welcome, and I really appreciated his honesty. I think it's a question Alex himself is wrestling with, and he was pretty open about his complicated feelings throughout our conversation. I started by asking Alex if he felt pressure to be an ambassador for the Jewish community during an intense time for American Jews.
I've always felt that you represent the people around you. You represent your family, you represent your community, you represent your country as loaded as the phrase representing your country is. You know, when I lived in England, I was like an American.
Right.
And I was in England for years. And I was like, oh man, people look at me, they see American. And now sometimes people look at me and they see Jew, or they see, Jew who isn't vocal enough, or Jew who isn't vocal enough on their side. Mm-hmm. Like me being an ambassador for the Jewish community, I don't feel that pressing responsibility, but I've also I have taken jokes out of my act because I think they reinforce a negative stereotype about Jews. Mm-hmm. So that's something. Or I have decided to not do certain projects because I think they paint, Jews in a certain light. And I have argued against jokes in writers' rooms that I've been in because I think they're not so interesting jokes about Jews, or jokes that I wouldn't want coming out of a Jewish comedy mouth. Mm-hmm. So I don't see myself in a position for that as in front of the camera, holding a microphone, being an activist. But in those ways, I try to advocate for the things in Judaism that I would like to see. And I've also tried to make things that I think would be good for people to see coming from Jewish artists, particularly something that Jews would see coming from Jewish artists. Like, yeah.
You told me earlier that you have kind of conflicted feelings about Israel. As a public-facing, Jewish person, performer, do you get feedback about this? I mean, do people give you a hard time for not being more, strident, more stridently pro-Israel, for example?
I got asked to sign a letter condemning someone for having Motaz Azeza on their show. He's a Palestinian photographer.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be like, I sat next to him at a Time magazine dinner, and we had a really long conversation, and it was really difficult and emotional. And then we went to a Chicago White Sox game together a few months later. So if I'm censoring that person for having him on their show, what's the penalty for taking him to a White Sox game? I mean, the White Sox are terrible, to be fair.
So it's a mixed bag.
Yeah, if you're anti-Palestinian, you should actually thank me for taking him to see one of the 10 worst teams in baseball history. He left Gaza only a few years ago. One would say that this extends a bad time for him by taking him, a Jew and a Palestinian, watching the Pope's favorite baseball team lose to the Diamondbacks. But like, the truth is, there is a real benefit to showing up entirely as yourself to someone who you or the world would view as diametrically opposed to you, who is showing up entirely as themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's not like up to you to solve it, and and the odds that you can do it are very slim. But like, you walk away with a more fulsome understanding of how like they view the world and what their experience has been like, and sometimes, by the way, people. I was photographed in Motaz at that Time magazine event, and I got some pretty nasty notes about it. Really, really nasty notes. And someone was like, how could you, who did Just for Us, who did that show, about anti-Semitism, talk to this person? I'm like, it's about the same thing. I'm not equating him with the white supremacists, but for me, the sort of practice is the same, which is you go into a room, people who don't agree with you, and you find out that you guys share some principles. And like, I have to say, it is one of the most interesting experiences that you can have conversationally. It's like these face-to-face conversations with people. Like, there's really nothing like it. And it's really, really cool.
Do you see yourself doing more material about the Israel-Palestinian conflict? It seems like you would probably be drawn to the moral complexity of it.
There's a little bit of it because I have a lot of, not to spoil anything that's in the show, I have a lot of trauma around the Israeli-Palestinian situation. I say situation when there are a million words I could pick from, but let's pick situation very bravely. Like when I was a young person, I was pretty close to a terrorist attack at a school called Merkaz Harav
in Jerusalem.
In Jerusalem, 2008, and so the knock-on effects of that have been interesting and lifelong, and so yeah, there's a deep personal thing there, but also like sometimes I go, oh man, I need to reckon with this slowly. I have a joke in the show which I love, where I go, the war's been very complicated for me because I hate Hamas, but I love Hezbollah. And also, I'm very anti-Israel, but I am wild about Benjamin Netanyahu. So the funny thing is, I love the joke because like no one knows how to react to it. After a Q&A in Atlanta, someone raised their hand. At a Q&A in Atlanta after a show, someone raised their hand and said, "Can you just tell me which side you're on so I know whether or not to like you?" Which is like, I said to her, I was like, I gotta respect that. I gotta really respect that. But I'm the side that's like, we gotta figure it out, guys. But by the way, some people are like, it's not nuanced.
Right.
And I also like,
I feel like most people, a lot of people feel that way. Actually.
Oh yeah. And I kind of appreciate that because there's life and death. Yeah. People are dying.
Yeah.
Like innocents are dying.
Yeah.
In wars that are not of their choosing.
Yeah.
So like, they're being killed by bombs that have absolutely nothing to do with them. So you could say, yeah, it's not complicated. And where I've arrived at is like, but the situation is certainly going to be, right? Because you're looking at, in a solution, you're looking at either a very complicated and fragile and seemingly impossible coexistence, or you're looking at the mass displacement of a huge amount of people who object to that displacement, whether Israelis or Palestinians, right? Like that's what we're heading for. We're headed for one of those two things. So in order to figure out what to do, that is very complicated. So yeah. But again, I have friends on both sides. I have family members who won't talk to me for different reasons around the I have very, very pro-Palestinian family members, and I have very, very pro-Israel family members who are both very mad at me for, various things I've said or not said, or various people I've sat next to at meals, or various things I've refused to go to. And occasionally I get the odd Instagram message that is like, that's pretty yikes, but, what are you going to do?
More of my conversation with Alex Edelman after a short break. Alex, you grew up here in Boston, in Brookline, actually, and you went to Maimonides, which
no one's
is
perfect, Anna.
a Jewish day school. Talk to me about Maimonides and your Brookline childhood.
I mean, it was it's a yeshiva day school. So, school from, prayer at 8 a.m., school from 9 to 5 something-ish, praying 3 times a day, kosher, off Saturdays, them's the perks. But yeah, a really, really interesting dual education, which is, English, which I excelled in, math, which I was nightmarishly bad at, and the various Hebrew subjects, which I was middling to poor in, but got a lot of enjoyment out of. And also, by the way, if you're listening to this and you're like, God damn this spineless, hopeless nuance freak, that's Talmud. That's, you know what I mean? Like the Talmud, which conspiracy theorists are very keen to seize on as sort of evidence of like Jewish, prejudices, malcontents and, shitty customs and, conspiracy fodder, is actually an entire set of books filled with nuance. Rabbis parsing what time you can eat milk after having eaten meat. It's a very nuance focused.
The jury's still out on that one.
Yeah, I mean, listen. So some Jews wait 6 hours, and German Jews, Yeki Jews, seem to wait about 15 seconds. Okay. It's when they put that. Sometimes my grandmother was like, "You should marry Yeki Jews." Yekis are German Jews. So like, if you marry a Yeki Jew, you don't have to wait that long between eating meat and eating milk. And so I was always like, "What?" My grandparents seemed to want me to get married based on the dietary restrictions I can skirt. They're like, if you marry a Sephardi Jew, you can eat rice on Passover.
Yes, that's a big one. I always knew about that.
I was like, how desperate are my family?
Eat rice on Passover.
You know what? Oh, it's Passover. I can't have all that sushi I was planning on,
Do you have a favorite Talmudic wisdom?
There's this concept. I'm trying to be like, I'm not just Jewish, but there's this concept called Motlin Bakodesh Ve'en Moridin, which is that you only ascend in worthiness instead of descending, and you should always be aiming to get better and better as opposed to worse and worse. And also, like, if you have a building that was a synagogue, you can't turn it into like a public toilet, because that's not going up,
right,
in terms of and so it's so funny because someone once came up to me and they're like, hey, I hated this thing that you said. I was like, oh yeah, you're right, I changed my mind. And watching people be like, you changed your mind? And I'm like, yeah.
So Maimonides, the school, is modern Orthodox, which for people who don't know, it's different than like the Chassids that people will see with like the hats and the...
Sure.
Can you define modern Orthodox for people?
Modern Orthodox are those folks have cousins who are the Chassids that you see with the hats. Modern Orthodox is, the folks who exist in a sort of tightrope between the secular world and the traditional one. So you live a life that doesn't view the secular world as bad, and you live a life informed by tradition and practice that is sort of Torah adherent. So, and Boston's a very big part of modern Orthodox Jewry because its founding scholar is a guy named Reb Joseph Soloveitchik, who lived in Brookline and founded Maimonides, actually, and died in the very early 90s. So Boston is sort of a center for modern Jewry, modern Orthodox Jewry.
It seems like, in theory, it's the best of both worlds for religious people who want religious Judaism, but to still have sort of be integrated with the rest of society.
It creates tension because there's tension between the secular world and the secular life and an Orthodox one. Those things aren't always, or secular life and a religious one. Those things don't always exist in concert. That's seamless. Another reason I'm a nuance freak. But yeah, so but those things are good, and also the other thing is it teaches you to be resistant to pastiche, right? So like, I have a rule in comedy that I write about Judaism, like no bubbes, no bagels.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? like my friend calls it Sid the Yid, like no like stuff that's pastiche that like is a creation of like a Jewish creation that people might previously know from stupid stereotypes or for extrapolating old television shows. Like I'm a renowned hater of shtick.
Okay.
Like I think shtick is like it's kind of for it's not I don't think of it as like it's not it's dead. Shtick is kind of done. And thank God. Like it's such a terrible thing to so clammy and clumsy and not real to the world that I live in. So I don't really love it.
Okay.
Wait, you seem challenged. You seem
No,
challenged by that.
Well, I'm challenged by that because I think shtick is sort of like it's like part of our culture.
I disagree.
Okay, please.
Or like I think maybe you and I think you and I have different definitions of the word shtick. I think comedy is essential to our culture.
Okay.
But what do you mean by what give me something that
I
is
don't know.
shtick.
I don't know what is shtick. I mean,
Give me one good example
okay,
of what
but
you
like
think
the
shtick is.
traditional like Jewish jokes, are those shtick? Like in my family there was this guy Uncle Sam, right? And he was like he always had like
We
a
had an
million
Uncle Sam.
jokes.
His name was Uncle Sam.
Uncle
Sure.
Sam. Yeah, we
Yeah, of
literally
course.
both had one. And I feel like part of it is that the jokes were dumb, but everybody laughed every time. But I think that a lot of really funny people have like those characters in their background that
Don't you
somehow
think it's like
informs.
based in nostalgia?
Yeah, absolutely.
What other ethnic groups' nostalgia would you like to see engaged with?
I don't necessarily think I need you to perform it at all.
No,
and
I know. I'm just.
I just think that nostalgia is part of cultural identity.
I think that's a really good. I think that's a really good answer, and I think that's 1,000% true. And I think the little bit of nuance that I would add to that is that it feels like it's been exclusively what Jewish comedy is perceived to be, is a sort of nostalgia play.
Okay.
And how about this? I've never really loved comedy about Jews, but I've always loved comedy about what it means to be Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So like jokes about like hopelessness and despair and a sort of what are you going to do in the face of that? That has always been really appealing and Jewish to me. But sort of like, you hear the joke about the guy with 5 penises, pants fit him like a glove. You're like, great joke. But you know what? Like I've got about 30 seconds of this. And I'm not like desperate to. There's a joke I found in an academic paper from the 70s. The joke is, guy dies, goes to heaven, he's waiting in line for frozen yogurt, and he looks to his right, and God's there. He's like, oh, and God's like, hi, Kevin, and he's like, oh, wow, God, I'm such a fan, and God's like, I know, nice to meet you, great job, good job being up here. Kevin's like, oh, thank you. I really appreciate everything, like fjords, and Seattle and like the San Francisco Giants, like really appreciate everything. Thank you so much. And God's like, no problem. And there's a holdup at the front of the line and they're sort of waiting there. It's a little awkward because they've acknowledged the dynamic and they're just like, they should have both left, but they're both still there. And the guy goes, God, and God goes, mm-hmm. He goes, you want to hear a joke? And God's like, oh, sure. I love jokes. And the guy tells God a Holocaust joke. And God goes, I gotta tell you, I don't find that joke funny at all. And the guy goes, well, I guess you had to be there, huh? And like, sometimes people ask me, does comedy need to be funny? And I'm like, that joke's not funny, but only a fucking idiot would be like, that's not a good joke. Like, it's the greatest. It's probably like one of the best jokes I've ever heard. And like, when you tell in a room, people gasp. And so like, that to me is a really good Jewish joke. And so I feel a little weird when people are just like, here's a joke about an old man with soup breath. You're just like,
Mrs. Goldfarb.
exactly. I'm just like, I mean, I know Mrs. Goldfarb, but like, I want something. But in my mind now, how about this? I don't know that I've ever said this out loud before, but like, I know that the sort of Boston, New York, Los Angeles Judaism that I grew up with, the Goldfarbs and the Himmelmans and the Birnbaums and whatever, that's one thing. That's one swath of Judaism, and it's now. It's like Judaism from the 20s to the 90s. And like, and that's kind of, someone ate that lunch. Like Jackie Mason did it, Freddie Roman, Henny Youngman, Alan King, genius comedians. There are some genius comics who did, Woody Allen, when he was still alive, did jokes about, this stuff that people like worshipped.
Yeah.
And so like, now what I want is something that encompasses the Jewish experience beyond just a very myopic lens of one community that I feel is small and maybe vanishing. And so like, that to me is why I'm a little hungry, which isn't to say I don't laugh at some shticky stuff. It's just like, I try to keep it out of my own work.
That makes a lot of sense. I think as you're talking, I think for me, I don't know how funny I find it, but I think it's a way that I connect with my parents.
I think that is such a valid.
It's how I make them laugh with that stuff, and that brings me joy.
But also, my dearest friend in the world is like, I'm sorry, that stuff that you don't like to put in your work, your bubbes and bagels, that's how I connect with my Judaism.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, that's how I connect with my family. That's
right.
All the stuff you just said. He's like, it's totally like, to me, and like, I'll grumble sometimes, like, well, then it's just Barney Greengrass. And he's like, Barney Greengrass is enough. Yeah. He's like, the restaurant
what I'm trying to do.
Exactly. Exactly. But by the way, part of it is that I was raised in it and incubated in it. Yeah. And so I need stronger heroin. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I need more Jewish comedy drugs than because no one has ever told me a Jewish joke I don't know. I know all the formulas now. Yeah. Because I've heard them all. So sometimes people send me an old Jew telling jokes Instagram thing. And I'm like, I know this joke. Yeah. I tell it better. I know this joke. There's an essential wrinkle here. Yeah. I like that, but there's some with teeth that are really funny to me. There are a few that make people gasp or make people uncomfortable. Those are the ones I fucking love.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Oedipus.
Oedipus who?
Oedipus Schmedipus, as long as he loves his mother.
Oh my God. Well,
that's a little edgy.
It's really funny.
You're smiling.
One I love. Can we tell a couple? This guy's dying. There are two. This guy's dying. I love Jewish deathbed jokes. Yeah, this guy's dying, and he calls in his son, and he goes, "Son, your mother's brisket. I can smell your mother's brisket, and before I die, I just want to have a taste of that brisket one last time." And son's like, "Okay, Pop." And he goes downstairs, and he comes back in 10 minutes later with no brisket. And the dad goes, "Where's the brisket?" And the son goes, "Mom says it's for after." Isn't that great?
That's a good one.
Phil Rosenthal told me that. Which is such a great, and he tells it so perfectly. I can't even nail the flatness of "Mom says it's for after." The other guy's on his deathbed,
and he's really good.
And he's like, "This
that's
is another
for everybody."
It's great. This is another Phil one. He goes, Phil Rosenthal. He's a comedian. He has a show called Somebody Feed Phil. I've done it a couple of times. It's like a travel food show, but he's a really brilliant, Jewish, a warm comedy presence. And he's like, this guy's dying, and his family's gathered around him. He's like, "My wife, are you here?" She's like, "Yes, darling, I'm here." And he's like, "My son, my darling son, are you here?" And he's like, "Yes." He's like, "My girls, my two beautiful girls, are you here?" And I'm like, "Yes, Dad, we're here." And he's like, "My grandchildren, are you here?" And they're like, "Yes, all 6 of us, we're all here. We're all here, Granddad." And he's like, "Okay, so why's the light on in the kitchen?"
That's pretty good.
Isn't it great? It's a really
That's funny.
It's really like the thing underneath it. It like really fizzes and pops. Like I do love stuff like that.
I think the millennial Jewish identity, like the generational piece, feels. I don't know. Maybe it's partly like my own feeling of fellowship with you as a millennial
Totally.
Jew, but I think millennial Jews feel like we're caught between this analog world full of traditions that are meaningful, but maybe we do want to break out of, and a future that feels like it's moving so fast. And
I think that's really beautifully put, actually.
do you? And part of me feels like everyone feels like this. Like maybe our parents felt this way in the 60s and 70s, and now we just feel that way because we're not kids anymore, and we have to decide how to be in the world.
Yeah.
But I'm curious for you, like how you negotiate the roots you were endowed with and your own sense of like who you want to be.
I'm trying to carry everything, and it's hard. Like I'm trying to take all the Judaism and all the modern stuff, and sometimes things fall out of your arms or slip through your fingers, and you have to figure whether or not you want to drop more stuff and pick up that thing, or if you want to keep going. For me personally, I think I need to find the right balance between rigorousness and inclusion. Right, like I need to find Judaism that has a practice for me that is repetitive and interrogatory and demands something of me, but also includes, a humanism that Judaism is correctly celebrated for, and the particularism that gives it its texture. So, like, I think those are, and those two things are really are ever shifting and difficult to take stock of, and sometimes uncomfortably and controversially, in conflict with each other. But sometimes I'm like, man, I'm going to ruin this whole meal by not being able to eat that, like in terms of kosher. Or man, like I'm comfortable doing that on Shabbos, but I am not comfortable doing that on Passover. And like, it's a really, also like, when do you inconvenience other people with your own religion?
Yeah.
Like, I think about that a lot. No one ever talks about it, but it's like a really big part of, day-to-day life. And I've dated people more religious than me and less religious than me. And it's a thing that you always, it's a thing you always worry about in terms of like wanting to optimize for the comfort of other people and also be true to yourself and who you are. Like it's a really, but yeah, I'd say that in terms of what to take with you, Judaism shows up in almost every aspect of my life. And so at least the way of thinking shows up. It provides the armature for almost everything in my life. So that's a really it's a really big deal.
I just feel like there's something there about, the future of Judaism kind of falling on our shoulders, the Jewish millennials. We're the ones who will carry the torch into the future, and we're the ones who will progress it forward, and it will end up being, what we make it.
I also think that Judaism is changing a lot at the moment. Like what American Jewry is and what American Jewish cultural institutions are changing very rapidly. And I think that there's a cohort of people who are really upset by that change.
Yeah.
And what do you want to do about it? Do you want to moralize against it or try to beat it into submission or try to take it on? I think Judaism in an existential moment needs to take a look at itself or risk obsolescence. So, but also that's a thing that someone would have said in the 1920s.
And every religion would
Every
have that.
religion. I say Judaism is like SNL. It's been dying since the day it was born. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's like, oh my God, we're 20 years away from, This isn't going to be a synagogue in 5 years. It's going to be Zoran Mamdani's presidential campaign headquarters. People they're so freaked out.
Yeah.
And it's just, chill out and talk to people. It's not as one, it's not as bad as it's going to be, as you think it's going to be. And two, change with the times a little bit. There's, and again, I think it has to do with the balance of rigorousness and inclusion. Those two things can coexist. I know it can.
Alex Edelman is a comedian. He's on tour. You can watch his special Just For Us on HBO or catch one of his shows. Thank you so much, Alex, for coming in and talking to me.
I'm so glad for the wide-ranging and fun conversation. And also, if anyone's listening wants to be mad at me, they're free to send me an email through my website, and I'll try to respond to your stuff with sweet, cheery kindness.
Say More is a production of the Boston Globe. Today's episode was produced by me. Our editor is Jim Dow. Our engineer is Uzair Ahmed. If you like the show, please follow us and leave a review. You can email us at saymore@globe.com. I'm Anna Kusmer. Thanks for listening.